Hey everyone, Mitch coming in with the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, Lost Caverns of Ixalan spoiler season has wrapped up, and with that we've got every single commander now from the actual set and the precons as well. But on this episode, because there are so many commanders, I'm going to take you through the tier list rankings for the commanders from the set, going from, well, the D tier, which is the lowest tier, the weakest commanders out of all of them in this set, all the way up to the S tier, the most powerful ones, the dominant commanders. And there are some really heavy hitters in this set. Keep in mind, these are just based off my own opinions, and they might differ from yours, and that's okay. Just let me in the comments below. Let me know how wrong I am and why. So with all that said, let's jump into it. These commanders are not in any particular order that I'm going through them, and also, yeah, I actually haven't put a list together ahead of time, so we're just going to be doing this blind because I have a lot more fun with that, and also I think it leads to some really good discussions, just kind of seeing like gut feels on a commander. Let's jump into it. Starting off with Ojer Kaslem, and my apologies for any mispronunciations. Deepest Growth, a 6/5 god for 5 mana with trample. Whenever deals counter damage to a player, reveal that many cards top your library. You may put a creature and or land from among them on battlefield. The rest go bottom your library in random order. It flips over when it dies into Temple of Cultivation. Tap 3 green, pay 2 and a green, tap, transform it. Activate only if you've got 10 or more permanents, only sorcery. Basically not a requirement for that. Now, the gods in this set, no, not trying to spoil anything, for future picks, are incredibly powerful because, yeah, like I mentioned, even if they are dealt with, they're so easy. Some of them, especially this one, are so easy to flip back over. So yeah, you can kind of cheat on commander cost with that. It's already, not too high of a cost. I'd say like, middle to a little high, I guess, at 5 mana. Still, I mean, this is a heavy-hitting god, one that, as long as you give it a lot more power, which very easy to do in green, yeah, you can do some pretty crazy things with it. Even giving it double strike, of course, with Fire Shrieker can help you with that combat damage trigger. Yeah, being able to cheat out some massive things. Yeah, cheat out like a Blightsteel Colossus. Yeah, or a Pathrazor Vulmog for, more budget-friendly folks. Yeah, a god that is hard to deal with, again, can hit super hard with the right build around it and cheat big things into play. Yeah, I think we're starting off with a big one here. I think we're starting off with, in my opinion, an S-tier commander from this set. And I should have mentioned, S tier from this set might not mean S tier for another set. This is in a vacuum, all compared to each other, okay? Moving on. Breaches, Eager Pillager, definitely S plus tier. Just kidding. Anyways, a 3/3 Goblin Pirate for 3 mana with first strike. Whenever a pirate you control attacks, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. You get a treasure. Target creature can't block this turn. Exit the top card of your library and play it this turn. Keep in mind, unfortunately, the way that this one is written, it's kind of limited. I mean, yes, there is, the potential for a treasure, not having a creature block, and also getting an impulse draw, essentially. 2 of those 3 things are quite valuable. The not blocking, yes, does help out in that combat scenario, but still, overall, like, Pirates is decently supported, but typically you need more than just red, so kind of having that limitation of being a mono-red commander that is pirate-focused, with, again, that limitation, again, because of the basically choose one that has been chosen. You can only choose basically, you get 3 benefits essentially if you attack with 3 pirates. Overall, I mean, there are definitely more disappointing commanders in this set. For right now, and these can change throughout this episode. They might change. We're going to throw that in the B tier. My gut says a B tier commander. Moving on. Inti, Seneschal of the Sun, a 2/2 human knight for 1 in a red. Whenever you attack, you may discard a card. When you do, get a counter target attacking creature. Gain Storm Cosium turn. More importantly, though, whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile the top card of your library. You play that card until your next end step. So this one can give you an absurd amount of temporary card advantage essentially with that impulse draw. Basically, if you have, I think it's called Patchwork Gnomes. There was a gnome that I was talking about on the quick take for this commander. Basically, it's like, hey, a free discard outlet for you. So like, discard, regenerate this. Cool. With that, it's like, hey, do you not like a card in your hand? Just want to get rid of it and switch it out? Cool. Do so. Discard that. Get something better potentially off the top of your library. And of course, there's benefits that you can get from actually casting things from exile or, from anywhere outside of your hand. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with this one. It is limited again because it is mono red. And also with the way it's worded, whenever you discard 1 or more cards. Unfortunately, yeah, if you just do a massive wheel effect, you only get 1. If you discard 7 cards, draw 7, cool, you get 1 impulse draw. Now, that being said, by discarding your hand, you have no hand, and then if you wheel and you draw 7, you didn't discard anything, that's also a benefit for you as well. So I think Inti is, I think it's about Breaches. I'm going to move Breaches down. We're moving Breaches down to C, because I think Inti isn't quite up to an A. I'll move Inti down to a B, though, so there we're going to go. Moving on, yet another guy with Ojer, and I think it's Ojer. I can never remember what it is. Anyways, Ojer Axonil, Deepest Might, a 4/4 god for 4 mana in red. Trample. If a red source you control will deal an amount of non-combat damage less than its power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to its power instead. When it dies, turn the battlefield chapter transformed, of course. And like the other gods, it flips over to a land that can tap for its color. Taps for a red, pay 2 in a red, tap, transform it. Activate only if red source you control dealt 4 more non-combat damage this turn, only as a sorcery. That, of course, is super easy to actually hit. Because, yeah, if you're building a deck around this commander, you're going to have a lot of non-combat damage. And let's say you just cast, even a single spell that's like, hey, yeah, 3 damage to all creatures. All of a sudden, that's like, yeah, okay, you got there. That did that, as long as there's 2 creatures in play. So, of course, flipping it back over is incredibly easy for a deck around this. And that effect is really cool, really spicy, and really powerful. Being able to say, hey, let's just change out, essentially, all of this damage that you're going to be doing and saying, now it's going to be super good. Now it's going to be a super powerful amount of damage where it's like, okay, yeah, I just put on like a Black Bladed Forge on this. Let's say my commander has 10 power, and that might be at a minimum, essentially. Any kind of like pinging effect that I have is all of a sudden 10 damage. So yeah, you can do some absurd things. You can take players out in absolutely no time. Yeah, this is quite powerful. And again, really hard to deal with. So yeah, let's put you up there again in the S tier. The gods are quite powerful from this set. Moving on. Ghalta, Stampede, Tyrant. Not quite a god, but an Elder Dinosaur. This thing is so cool. 12/12, trampling Elder Dinosaur for 8 mana in total. When it enters the battlefield, put any number of creature cards in your hand on the battlefield. That is quite the powerful effect. Now, 8 mana is a good amount for a commander. That is a lot for a commander. But again, you are in green. Of course, you've got plenty of great ways to ramp. That being said, yes, this also isn't a... For some reason, Wizards does like to, add the cast trigger requirement, which they typically should on powerful things like this. It doesn't necessarily matter nearly as much because it is in mono green and there's only so many ways to actually blink. I guess, sure, if you get a Conjurer's Closet in play, great, good for you. But other than that, yeah, there aren't really too many ways to blink your commander to really take advantage of that. That being said, yeah, a very powerful, potentially game-ending play, just getting your commander down if you've got the right creatures in your hand, and you've got ways to tutor for creatures, of course, as well. With the mana value kind of in mind, I do think Ghalta overall is incredibly powerful. Not quite as powerful as the gods, though, so you're going to be going up into the A tier. There you go. Moving on. Huatli, Poet of Unity, a 2/3 human warrior bard for 3 mana in total. Enters the battlefield. Go get a land, put in your hand. Cool. And that doesn't ramp you, but that does help you set yourself up for your next turn when it comes to actually putting a land down. Pay 3 Boros, exile Huatli, return to the battlefield transformed. Only at sorcery speed. Flips over to Roar of the Fifth People. First lore counter, 2 3/3 dino. Second one gives your creatures the ability to tap for 9 colors. Third one, go tutor for a dinosaur, put in your hand. Then the fourth one, dinosaurs you control gain double strike and trample on turn. So this one can be quite powerful once you get it going. That being said, yeah, I mean, you're going to have ways, obviously, to potentially, proliferate and play with that number of counters. There's also going to be times where, though, you hit, like, that, fourth lore counter, and it's not the time that you need it, obviously. That is a, hey, game ending, like, hey, give all my dinosaurs a ton, essentially, of power to just swing at my opponents, get damage through, and hit them really hard. There are definitely more powerful dinosaur tribal commanders out there. Dinosaur tribal is decently well supported. Overall, it's kind of underwhelming when it comes to power level compared to some other ones. I think I'm going to go... I mean, it's definitely not Ghalta power level. It's definitely not God power level. So we're going to go with a B tier commander for this one. Moving on. Abuelo, Ancestral Echo. A 2/2 spirit for 1 white and a blue. Flying ward 2. Pay 3 mana. 1 in Azorius color, essentially. Exile a dark creature, an artifact you control. And it's basically a delayed blink effect. Bring it back at the next end step. So this one is really cool. I mean, this one I think I talked about essentially on the quick take. You can take it in artifacts, ETBs most likely, creature ETBs, or combination of both. There's some really spicy things that you can do with it. Absolutely love the design. And of course, yeah, blinking and repeatable blink effects like this one are incredibly powerful. Now, unlike Deadeye Navigator, this is one that you don't just get the creature back right away, or artifact right away. I mean, Peregrine Drake essentially is the card that works with it, right? This one, though, is a delayed blink effect, so you don't get that right away. It doesn't have that combo potential, but still has incredibly powerful potential. Like this plus Coveted Jewel equals a lot of spicy card draw. So yeah, Abuelo, very cool, very, very powerful. I think overall, I'm going to be throwing you up in the A tier. Moving on. Got Aqual, the Seething Tower, a 3/3 fungus for 3 mana in Golgari to send for. As long as there are 4 more permanent cards in your graveyard, it's going to get +2/+2 in trample. As long as there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, it's going to get additional +2/+2. Can't be blocked by more than a creature. Overall, yawn, number 1. Number 2, yeah, just not very powerful at all. I mean, let's just say, I'm not going to waste too much time on this one. This is definitely a D tier commander in my rankings. I mean, at the best, yeah, you're set up and you've got 8 or more permanents in your graveyard, and it's a 7/7 trampling, can only be blocked by 1 creature. There's more powerful Voltron commanders out there that require a lot less setup, obviously. And of course, if your graveyard gets dealt with, this is just a 3/3 that does nothing. So there you go. Moving on, Amalia Benavides, aguer. I'm so sorry to all these mispronunciations. A 2/2 vampire scout with ward, pay 3 life. In Orzhov, whenever you gain life, it's going to explore, then destroy other creatures if its power is exactly 20. First up, exploring can be good. Technical card advantage by getting lands off the top of your library in your hand, obviously. And also card selection by, well, surveilling, essentially. And then, yeah, being able to get a counter on your commander. And of course, a repeatable board wipe. I mean, just at a base level, even if you just say put a Black Blade Reforged on this and you have like +7/+7, cool. Okay, you get to your, you know, what? There, I was going to say 13th counter, but 11th counter. That'd be 20 power in total. Awesome. If you unattach your equipment that was pumping your commander, now you can get to that again, essentially, and wipe the board again. On top of that, obviously, there are also ways to play with a number of counters. There's a lot of really good ways to essentially say, okay, move that, or move a counter off of it, to just keep repeatable board wipe again and again and again. Of course, you are in colors, or should I say color mostly, with white. That actually can give your creatures indestructible quite often, quite easily. So when you do that, yeah, you can make this into a one-side board wipe. Quite powerful, in my opinion. Not quite as powerful as the gods, but very, very good. So yes, somebody throwing you up in the A tier. Yeah, we've got some top end. There's definitely some least powerful commanders, less powerful commanders in the set we're going to be getting to, but it seems like got a lot of good ones so far. Next up, the Ancient One. 8/8 Spirit God for just 2 mana, and if it was just that, that'd be so spicy, but that's not how it is. Dimir colors. Descend to 8. It can't attack or block unless there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. Pay 2 in Dimir colors. Draw a card, discard a card. When you discard a card this way, you're going to make target player mill equal to its mana value. So it requires a little bit of setup. I mean, you could pretty early get this to be swinging as an 8/8. Again, just by targeting yourself, essentially, by discarding a card that has, well, probably, what, 7, essentially, or more, because you're already going to be discarding a card, too. Yeah, I mean, that can be quite powerful if you get that pretty early. Obviously, you can also mill your opponents too. Milling is only going to be so powerful. There's definitely more powerful mill commanders out there, though this one can be quite spicy, quite interesting. I think overall, oh goodness, there's definitely worse commanders out there. And you can really play at that power level too, the power mechanic, essentially. Just like, oh yeah, okay, this creature's got this power. What benefit can I get from that? There's cards that do that. I'm kind of torn. This is kind of like a B- in my opinion, but it's definitely, I'm going to go with a B still. I think I'm going to right around there. It's going to go into the B category. We shall see them. Moving on, Bartolomé del Presidio, a 2/1 Vampire Knight for just 2 mana. Orzhov, sacrifice another artifact or creature artifact. Don't know why I said that in reverse. Get a counter on it. Now, this might not seem like a lot, okay? To some, it might not seem like a lot, but my goodness, is this a potentially incredibly powerful aristocrat-style commander. Because aristocrats typically like 3 things, okay? You've got fodder, creature fodder that you want to sacrifice. You've got benefits. You've got things that benefit you when you do sacrifice those creatures, or artifacts, I should say. And then also an outlet. And this is a low to the ground, 2 mana outlet for both creatures and artifacts that does benefit you when you sacrifice them. Even if it didn't give you a counter on this, this would still be a very powerful commander. Because having a free sacrifice outlet for multiple permanent types in your command zone that is low to the ground is huge. Yeah, Aristocrats is a very powerful strategy. This is a great commander for it. And I'm excited to see the build rounds for this one. And yeah, again, there are ways to take advantage of, the number of counters on this, the power of this commander too. So yeah, make sure you're keeping that in mind. I think overall, again, it is one that is going to be slept on because, it's only uncommon. It doesn't really do anything other than sacrifice. Yeah, very good commander. I'm going to be throwing you up in the A tier, so congratulations, Bartolomé. Moving on, and an uncommon commander that's not going to be in the A tier. Spoiler. Karakariti. I'm sorry. Sunborn, 4/4 human soldier, 4/4 mana, and Boros. Whenever it attacks, you may tap on 2 untapped artifacts on a creature you control if you do discover 3. Okay, I mean, first of all, you got to throw this into danger to do so, and you've got to tap some things. I mean, obviously, that's not too big of a deal to be able to tap 2 untapped artifacts, but yeah, I mean, if you got like 2 mana rocks, you got to make that decision, be like, do I want to waste mana, essentially, and just do this? Yeah, I mean, overall, in Discover 3, yeah, you can do some decently cool things with that, like if you build your deck around, like, maybe a card that costs, like, 0 to be able to cast that, essentially, again and again and again. I think overall, I'm wasting too much time just talking about this one because, yeah, this is, in my opinion, probably just a D tier commander, just straight up. Again, you have to send it into danger. It's not all that powerful, and yeah. Let's just go with that. Moving on. Oh, okay, here we go. Yep, I told you it was a little top heavy to start, but we're not going to be short of the bottom tier commanders. Captain Storm, Cosmium Raider, a 2/2 human pirate for 2 mana. And yeah, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a counter on target pirate control. Now I should have said, is it commander? There you go. So yeah, I mean, I guess compared to breaches, yeah, you got blue for pirate tribal, but what this does is just not all that exciting at all. Really at all. Yeah, it's just pretty gross as a commander. Not good at all. I'm spending too much time on this one. Another uncommon commander that is a EDH commander. And I should say, to clarify, yes, I understand that not every single commander is built with, being a commander in mind. Some legendary creatures are made for, standard purposes or other formats or just lore purposes. Yeah, but I've got to judge them all kind of on the same playing field, just to be fair. So, ugly commander, terrible, awful. Yeah, move on. Kellen, daring traveler, a 2/3 human fairy scout for 2 mana. And I was going to say mono white, but Selesnya. Journey on, sorcery adventure for a single green mana. Create X map tokens or X is 1+ number of opponents control an artifact. So I'm sure you can make some map tokens. They actually, help you explore, which can be some card selection / advantage potentially if you're lucky. When it attacks, reveal the top card of your library. It's a creature card, mana value 3 or less, put in your hand. Otherwise, you may put in your graveyard. So yeah, some potential card advantage again there too in a way. Also kind of like a creatures, low power creature tribal. I guess I shouldn't say low power, low mana value creature tribal potentially. Overall, just not all that exciting. Not the worst in the set, but definitely not the best. So yeah, you're above Captain Landry Storm and whatnot, but you are not anywhere near the S tier. So there you go, Kellen. You are going to be going into the C tier. Next up, Cudzil, mement, exemplar, a 3/3 cat warrior that costs 3 mana in Selesnya. Opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Whenever one of our creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power, deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So there you go. The potential for being able to quite easily, yes, there is a certain requirement, obviously, but quite easily ensuring that you hit that. Because, yeah, you just need to basically have any of your creatures modified in a way. They counter on them, essentially, or, additional power from an equipment. Or yeah, just an anthem, just a simple anthem effect will meet that requirement. So you can give you a decent amount of card advantage. You got to get those creatures through still. Decent amount of card advantage though once you're set up properly. So I think overall, probably more of a middle of the road commander. Let's go for the B tier. Moving on, the Myco Tyrant. A star Elder Fungus to trample that costs 3 mana and Golgari. Power times each equal to the number of creatures you control that are fungi and or saplings. Give your end step. You get X/1/1 black fungus creature tokens with this creature can't block or exceed the number of times you descend this turn. And just want to point this out because it's something that trips me up every now and then as well. You descend each time a permanent card is put in your grave from anywhere. I really don't like the way that Wizards worded that because it's like, oh, okay, permanent card technically doesn't include tokens, even though tokens hit your graveyard, but like they're not permanent cards technically, even though they're like a permanent on the battlefield, and it's also a physical card that usually you can be holding. But I guess tokens can be represented by anything, which is kind of the stick there. But yeah, okay, the tokens don't count toward it. So like if you make a bunch of fungus and then you sacrifice them, that doesn't count toward it, okay? That being said, yeah, this can generate you a good army. It can be a pretty good aristocrat style commander as well. Take some setup to actually get there, but still, I think overall, I think the Myco Tyrant is kind of, again, like a B+, A-, but I think I'm going to go with the B+. So there you go. Moving on, the Nenzel, Curtain Conductor, a 2/3 Merfolk Scout for 2 mana in Simic. Whenever a creature control explores a land card, you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield tapped. Whenever a creature you control explores a non-land, get a counter on this. So kind of playing with Explore extra, basically, hey, if you hit a land, instead of it just going to your hand, it's actually ramp now. It goes straight into play, essentially. Well, you can put a different one in your hand, but still, you know what I mean? Also getting counters on this, you obviously can play with that too. Now, the main thing with this one is that's really holding this back is, well, Explorer only has so much support. There's really not all that many, and there's more of this set now too, but still, like Explorer, you need more cards because, I mean, you're kind of just have to throw every single Explorer card that you have access to into this deck, and then like the synergies aren't always going to be great too. Over time, if we get more Explorer, great, it's going to be more powerful, but for now, just because of the support for the card, we're going to go for the D tier. Moving on, Saheeli, the Sun's Brilliance, 2/2 Human Artificer for 2 mana, and Is It colors tap. Create a tokens copy of another target creature or artifact you control, except an artifact, so types, gains haste, sacrifice will be your next end step. Yeah, being able to essentially clone any temporary clone, but being able to clone any of your artifacts or creatures is crazy powerful, especially again with creatures, artifacts that have ETBs or LTBs, or just a really powerful effect that you want to be able to duplicate. And yeah, that's pretty powerful. Of course, there are certain ways around, losing that token. If it's a creature, you can populate with a couple ways essentially to be able to get an extra copy of it. Or, I mean, if it is, again, either one of those at the end step, if you've got like a way to end the turn and to essentially just keep those in play, you can do that too. So Sundial the Infinite. So yeah, again, like I talked about earlier with Abuelo, hey, being able to use and abuse ETBs and now LTBs as well for artifacts and creatures, quite powerful. Again, low to the ground commander with a powerful activation. Let's go with that in the A tier. Moving on. Sovereign Okek AO. I'm so bad with these names. 3/4 Ward 2 Cat Noble for 4 mana in Selesnya. Whenever it attacks for each creature control of power greater than that creature's base power, put a counter. Whenever counter is not equal to the difference. Again, kind of one of those commanders we have to read it like a couple times because it's kind of confusing. But basically, hey, again, if you've got creatures with any kind of modifications, essentially when it comes to having greater power than their starting power, you're going to get more and more and more counters on them. So just have some simple anthems in play or get counters on them. Yep, you can do some pretty powerful things with this. Your army can become very, 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 very heavy hitting in no time. And I don't know why Wizards decided to slap on a Ward 2 on this. Again, it's already pretty powerful, but they did. So yeah, I think overall, with all that in mind, another A tier commander. A lot of A tier commanders right now. Let's see if this one does. No. Uchbenback? The Great Mistake? Yeah, that name, that is tough. 6/4 Skeleton that costs 5 mana in Dimir Vigilance Menace. Descend 8 for 4 in Dimir colors. Return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. They finally counter on it. Activate only if there are 8 or more opponent cards in your graveyard as a sorcery. I mean, again, another commander that's probably not really made for, being a commander. But, yeah, evaluating these all the same. Yeah, pretty gross. Just doesn't really do much. Just a 6/4 Menace that you can get back. Cool. Yeah. D tier. That's just, I'm going to stick with that. D tier. There we go. Moving on. Vito, Fanatic of Aclazotz. A 4/4 vampire demon with flying that costs 2 white and a black. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, you gain 2 life. The first time this ability resolves this turn. The second, each opponent loses through 2 life. And the third time, you get a 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. So this one does require a good amount of setup. Once you get it going, you can really do some really good things. Again, being able to drain each opponent 2 life. It does require you to sacrifice essentially 2 permanents, though. Again, it does specify permanent, so it can be any kind of permanent, which is nice. That, getting the 4/3 is nice as well because that's extra fodder that you could utilize too. But also a flyer. Overall, the amount of setup that is required for this is decent, but yeah, again, with an aristocrat-style strategy, you can do some pretty good things with it. I think overall, it's not quite up to the A tier. I think it is a good, solid middle-of-the-road tier commander, though. Moving on. Zoyowa Lavatang. I'm terrible with names. 2/2 Goblin Warlock with Death Touch that costs 2 mana in Rakdos. At the beginning of your end step, if you descend this turn, each opponent may discard a card to sacrifice a permanent. It's going to deal 3 damage to each opponent who didn't. Okay, so again, because tokens aren't counted in this with the descending, that is a hit against this. The other hit against this, unfortunately, is that May, which is just, Wizards, really, did you need the May? I know it'd be kind of brutal if you're like, hey, yeah, let's just get rid of hands and permanents. But still, with the May, it's like, yeah, 3 damage isn't that bad. And then also, okay, I guess a saving grace for this is basically, yeah, okay, you could have damage doublers out there. You could have other benefits for when you actually hit with this commander, like, lifelink or whatnot. Overall, it's not the worst. The worst that comes to the D tier commanders. It's probably more of a C tier commander. So yeah, you can do some pretty good things with it. Again, it is only on your end step. But because of that, it is only on your end step. It is like a D plus, C minus. I'm just going to stick with a C for now. Moving on. Ojer Deepest Foundation, a 6/6 god for 6 mana in mono white vigilance. One of our tokens created in your control. 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. Wizards, gross. Dies, flip it over, essentially like all the other gods. Taps for a white, pay 2 and a white, tap, transform it. Only if you attack with 3 or more creatures, only as a sorcery. That is a very low requirement. Again, with the front side, if you just make 1 token, you get 3. Again, it is only creature tokens. Thank goodness they didn't say any tokens, though, because I'd just be like, okay, yeah, treasures. But no, this is a crazy powerful commander still. Just think about, like, Mere Battlesphere. Okay, that's 12 creature tokens just with that, and that is a very, very low amount of tokens that you can make when it comes to this commander's full potential. Absurd, absolutely absurd. Again, really hard to deal with because you're going to be able to get it back quite easily, like the other gods, in my opinion. An S tier commander. Moving on, Malcolm, Alluring Scoundrel. I love the design of this one. 2/1 Flash Flying Siren Pirate for just 2 mana. Deals counter damage to a player, put a chorus counter on it. Loot. If there are 4 or more chorus counters on it, you may cast this card without paying its mana cost. So basically a low to the ground, evasive, again, you can flash it in as well, commander that provides you with some card selection, which is very nice. But then once it gets to a certain point, it's not just card selection, it's straight up card advantage and casting things for free. So that is crazy cool. Of course, you don't have to just wait to hit 3 times if you maybe have double strike, which there's not too much double strike in mono blue, obviously, but like a Fire Shrieker would do it. Or, I mean, proliferate. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So you can get that pretty quickly up to that 4 course counters. And then, yeah, just all of a sudden cast things for free, like, you know, Blightsteel Colossus or whatnot again. So have fun with that. Or like Omniscience. And then, yeah, you just cast everything for free. So yeah, overall, a very, very, very good commander. Not quite up to God standard, I don't think, but I do believe it would be an A tier commander in this list. Next up, another god, Ojer Patik. Deepest Epoch, a 4/3 god flying that costs 4 mana in mono blue. Whenever you cast an instant spell from your hand, it gains rebound, which basically means, hey, you get to exile as it resolves. You cast for free at the beginning of your next upkeep. So have fun with that. And then when it dies, of course, again, tap transform, but this time with 3 time counters on it. And it's going to be flipped over to Temple of Cyclical Time. Tap for a blue, move a time counter from it, pay 2 and a blue, tap, transform it. Only if it's got no time counters on it, only as a sorcerer. This is probably the most difficult out of all, maybe, okay, up there. It's definitely up there, the most difficult. Not maybe the second most difficult when it comes to actually flipping it back. But still, if you're set up properly, it's quite easy to do so because, well, you're in mono blue. You've got ways to move counters, manipulate counters, and also ways to untap this, because again, you can just keep untapping this and then activating it again. Like if you've got like Vizier of Tumbling Sands or any of those kind of creatures that can tap to untap something, or just, yeah, any spells that untap a permanent, you can do that quite quickly, flip it back over, and then all of a sudden again, it is, well, hey, let's double up all your instants and do some pretty crazy things. So overall, yeah, again, hard to deal with, crazy powerful effect in the front. Let's go with an S tier commander. Moving on, the final god, for the monocolor gods. Aclazotz, Deepest Betrayal, 4/4 bat god, flying and lifelink for 5 mana in mono black. Attacks each opponent, discards a card. For each one who can't, you draw a card. When opponent discards a land, you get a 1/1 bat. Dies, you get the drill. Flips over, tap for a black, pay 2 and a black, tap, transform it. Only player has 1 or fewer cards it handles a sorcery. This might be the most difficult one to achieve, but actually could be quite easy if you're okay with getting rid of your own hand. There are plenty of ways to do so. So yeah, you can make it so you only have 1 or fewer. Of course, you're also probably going to be running a lot of other discard effects on top of your commander's attack trigger. So by doing that, they're not going to have hands. You can flip it back over quite quickly, quite easily. And also you can draw a good amount of cards with this too. So yeah, card advantage, card disadvantage for your opponents. Also making bats. Sure, what's not to love about this? Hard to deal with. Comes back. Let's go with the final S tier commander out of all the gods, or for all the gods, I should say. And we might have some more S tiers, probably not based on the pictures that are left, but here you go. Call, first among equals. A 1/5 human advisor for 3 mana in mono blue. Beginning of each player's end step, if an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, this turn the top 2 cards of your library. One of them goes in your hand, one goes in your graveyard. Yeah, I mean, if this one wasn't limited to just mono blue, this could be a lot more powerful. It's still quite powerful if you're set up properly. Yes, there are certain ways to be able to cast things at flash speed, like Vidalcan Ori, or just Shimmer Mirror, essentially, comes to your artifacts. But yeah, also, it does not say, you know, non-token. So because of that, and because it's on every single player's end step, there are ways to generate artifact tokens, and doesn't specify, like, creature tokens either. Or, not creature tokens, but it doesn't specify, like, artifact creature. So this one counts any kind of artifact, and count artifact tokens of any kind. Again, like a treasure, like a blood token, etc., etc., etc. Of course, creature tokens as well. Yeah, I mean, you can get a good amount of card selection with advantage baked in there, and also ways to play the graveyard as well. Overall, quite powerful. I think, I mean, maybe I'm overloading the A tier, but I think you are going to be an A tier commander. There's some crazy powerful things that you can do with artifacts, and mono blue is a good color for it. Though again, if you had more colors, it could be even more powerful. Moving on. That's a tough name. It's Quineth, the firstborn of Gishath, a 2/3 dinosaur for just 2 mana in Gruul haste. When it enters the battlefield, it may pay 2. When you do, target dinosaur you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. I mean, not all that powerful at all. I mean, yes, again, dinosaur tribal is quite supported. So yes, you can get some good dinosaurs out there. This is kind of like a removal spell, but you got to pay like extra for it, even though for some reason, I mean, not my favorite thing. There's also some dinosaurs that do have some enrage. I think overall, just because this does have dinosaur tribal, that is, again, more supportive than some other tribes, kind of some pretty powerful dinosaurs in there. And yes, this is a technical, repeatable removal spell, kind of in a way. Again, it's when it enters the battlefield. There's only so many ways to actually like blink this, though, in these colors. You still have to pay for that. I mean, maybe I'm just trying to convince myself that it's not a D tier commander because I don't want to overflow that, but we're going to go with a D tier commander. It's a D tier commander, in my opinion. It could be C again because of the dinosaur tribal aspect, but I'm going to go with D. That's what my gut says. Finally, an Impicale, Thousandth Moon, a 1/2 human soldier for 1 and red, and a white. Whenever you attack with one or more non-gnome creatures, put a +1 counter on it, then create X11 gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of counters on this. I mean, okay, at a base level, just attack with one or more non-gnomes. Sure, you only get 1 counter on it. Of course, there's other ways to get counters on it in these colors. And then also, yeah, you can proliferate too, I guess, as well. You maybe have some ways to double the number of tokens that you're making, or even triple now with the new god. That being said, those gnomes are sent into combat right away, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, because, yeah, I mean, if they're just being sent into danger, just get taken out, that's not great. So earlier on, that might not be as good, but of course, you could have some anthems in play. Overall, probably I'm gonna go with a mid-tier commander. You're gonna go with a B tier. You're not quite up to that A tier, so we're gonna go with that. I think overall, I feel pretty good about this list. There might be some small tweaks that I would do if I was really to kind of just go in, you know, and take another 3 hours. You just listen to me sitting for 3 hours just talking about kind of just, okay, maybe we'll move that up. Well, does that change this one? Does that change that one? I think overall, I feel pretty good, except maybe, goodness, okay. The only thing I might change is this. That'd be about it. I kept staring right there at that one. I was like, okay, maybe we'll move that one down. So that might be it though, but yeah. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on these rankings. Where was I right? Where was I wrong? What would you have done differently with your picks? Again, keep in mind that my rankings might be different than yours. This is coming from a casual commander experience, not CEDH, so that could be different as well. And I mean, casual commander, but again, even that is intricacies, right? Like my playgroup allows like 3 or 4 card combos. So it's like, yeah, like a 2-card combo, typically not. But yeah, I mean, like if you just have miscellaneous combos in there for these commanders, that might be a thing. Depends on the playgroup on how things are allowed. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on all these. Stay tuned for even more episodes. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.